Hi everyone, my name is Precious, aka Precious the Beloved. Alright, and welcome back to my show. Today I have with me Brother Festus.
Festus Adeyemi. Thank
He
you
said,
for having me.
You're welcome. He said not to call him a brother, right? So today we're going to be discussing about some of the advantages of telling your spouse about your past. Right? I mean, maybe like just a little bit of, advantages and disadvantages, but main focus is, why is it important for you to tell your spouse about your past? Like, have you ever been in a situation whereby, you know, maybe you've dated someone in the past,
Okay.
or maybe you're friends with someone, and like they didn't tell you something about their past, and you got to know somehow that, kind of like maybe affected the relationship somehow?
Thank you very much for the question. This is a very, very um, compound topic to talk about based on the fact that there are different perspectives. Some people believe that it is not of advantage to talk about the past. That's looking at it from the perspective of they not knowing how mature the level of the person's maturity. But I would say that in a very important relationship, such as intimate relationship, that probably will lead to marriage or a work kind of relationship, I would say that it is very, very important that they talk about the past because it is based on that you'll be able to know how to approach your partner. You'll be able to know things to work on because the thing is you are coming from a background while your partner is coming from a different background entirely. Like we have our differences. So based on the fact that you are coming from a background and your partner is coming from another background entirely. So let me just cite an example. In some houses, this is a very practical example. They believe that maybe when the children go to school, they come back at the end of the term with their report sheets or at the end of a particular level in education. So in some homes, they believe that it's the father's duty to keep the certificates, something as tiny as that. And while in some homes, they believe that it's the mother's duty to keep the certificates. So something as little as that, and it can be a more complicated issue. So, but it is based on asking your partner about the past that you'll be able to know tiny things that can even be very disastrous if care is not taken. So it is based on asking, then getting to know about the person's past that will be able to have an idea of where the person is coming from.
That's true though. So, because I know, like, I guess my concern would be, what if you tell your partner, like, everything about your past? Like, is there a way to filter, like, what you tell them? Because if you tell them everything about your past, maybe let's say, like, let's take an example of someone that had a very dirty past, for example. Maybe that person, this is like the extreme. Maybe used to be a prostitute or a runs girl or a call boy or something like that, right? And you now get married to maybe like a pastor. I'm just saying that for example. What if you're not comfortable to share that kind of past because you're thinking that if I share my dirty past, it may kind of like ruin this relationship, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to maintain, or maybe you're trying to get a job and you just feel like maybe what you used to do before, if you tell them, it can affect, how far it can go. So, those are some of the examples that I'm thinking that in that situation, in that scenario, like what would you say? Like, should the person keep their past at all? If you find out money, right? Or would you say that just open up to that to, wherever comes your way, because it's better for them to know and make their decision, you know.
Okay. In my own opinion, I would say that it is best, in my opinion, it is best to open up. Although I understand the fact that you might probably want to weigh the person's level of maturity because this is very, very important. Because, like you rightly said, you get to share your past with some people and they end up using it against you. But in a relationship that is a long-term relationship or that is a forever kind of relationship, you can't afford to jeopardize such relationship on the premise of not being clean, because there's a place for vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship, in a lasting relationship. So irrespective of, in my opinion, irrespective of how dirty it might sound, because this person, you are going on a lifelong journey with this person, so that person has to know,
To know,
so that
definitely.
based on that, the person will be able to guide himself, the people will be able to know how best to help each other make the relationship work.
Yep, definitely. Actually, I agree. And but I know, like so part of the advantage I would say would be trust. Yeah, and like it helps you to trust the person,
Exactly.
right, and builds a like a solid relationship.
Yeah.
Now, maybe a disadvantage that I'll think about is, for example, what if you tell the person and they just don't stop using it against you? Do you get? I'll say an example of a friend of like a friend of mine that I told my friend something, and he just kept like he was using it against me all the time, right? So to me, that would be like a disadvantage of which I feel that before you open up to anybody, you should kind of like gauge their level of
Exactly.
maturity
Exactly.
to see how how they'll take that information, how they'll interpret that information, if they're able to process it properly, that it won't be used against you. So I mean, I would like to hear from the audience, like, what do you think? Do you think you should tell your spouse everything about your past? Like, or do you think you should filter what you say? Like, maybe not open up about the entire thing. Like, I feel that there should be a limit to what you share. You don't have to share about like what happened to your father, your mother, and how the deep details of everything, especially if that person is not able to process it maturely. But I think you should at least give them a bit of details, like not a bit of details, but more like to tell them enough information so that they won't hear from a third party outside, which can really affect the relationship on the long run, right? So, but I'd like to hear from you people. Like, let us know, do you think you should open up about your past to your spouse? Do you think you should filter some things? Do you think you should just tell them, hey, whatever it is that you think, at least this is me, open book, nothing to hide. I would like to hear from you. You can drop your comment in the comment section. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching. See you later. Say bye to the camera. Say bye.
Bye bye.